Please come to order for this May 5th regular meeting of the Bridgton Planning Board. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody. Cinco de Mayo, but there will be no piñatas tonight. Okay, I'll appoint Jessica to continue on Middle Ridge subdivision, and then for the rest of the agenda, it will be the regular members who are all here. As usual, alternates can make motions and participate in all proceedings with the exception of voting. The other thing I want to point out to the board, which you should have gotten an email on, is that item number 6A, new business, Sweden Road subdivision, has been scratched from the agenda. Okay. So, alrighty. Next on the agenda is the approval of the April 7th, 2026 minutes.
Move to approve.
Moved by Ms. Cook. Is there a second? Second by Ms. DiPietro. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Okey dokey. 5-0. Next on the agenda is North States Next on the agenda is public comment by any speakers that wish to speak. Address, please.
I can't read the agenda item, I know. So I would like to make a suggestion, and this came to light, for me at least, after the last meeting when I came in for a sketch plan. When I got my bill from Sebago, I saw that the sketch plans require a butter notification. Anytime I've ever done a sketch plan anywhere else, it's really an informal meeting between an applicant and the board for the applicant to get input from the board before you jump into a full-blown $20,000, $30,000 application. I would like to ask the board to, and I don't know if it's even possible, we have to ask Brenda. In the future, if someone comes in with a sketch plan, let's just have it be an informal meeting with the board. Because we have to notify abutters. I mean, the abutter notification for that sketch plan was $524 because there's so many abutters in the cottages. Then we have to do it again when we actually file the application. And this is what you've heard me say many times before. What's that?
If there's a public hearing, then you have to do it again possibly too, so.
Right, so you've heard me say this many times. The meter keeps running here all the time and we keep running the cost up of these simple little projects into the tens of thousands of dollars, and it's just another thing that makes housing more and more expensive. So I would like to ask the board to say that, to make the decision that if it's just a sketch plan, something very informal, that doesn't require that. I mean, it was non-committal from the board, it's non-committal from an applicant. It's just to kick ideas around and say, okay, which way should we go with this?
Yeah,
and it's a lot of money to be spent to have an informal conversation.
What I would propose is, because it's in the ordinance, so we'd have to amend the ordinance. What I would propose is that if it's okay with the board, if nobody has any objections,
No,
I would propose that we have staff talk to whoever the right people are, MMA or whoever, and see if it's really required by some statute or something. And if it's not, then I think the board can consider just, as Mr. Lopez said.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay,
You're welcome.
all righty.
Is it waivable?
I don't think notice is, no. If it was something else, I think it would be, but Brenda, maybe you can, I think it says what can be waived are certain,
Dimensional requirements can't be.
no, and certain non-dimensional standards can be waived, but that's part of public process, so I'm not sure if it can be waived.
Yeah, I think it's only the
But we could ask that question. I mean, we can always ask that question. Okay. All right. Next on the agenda, 5A North Star Estates subdivision. They've turned in a preliminary subdivision plan, which we declared as complete. And we called for a public hearing on this date. So I'll hereby open the public hearing, which will start with the applicant's agent, Mr. Garish, giving us an overview, and then we'll go to members of the public that might have questions or concerns, and last, we'll go to the board.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Planning Board members, for having us here once again for the North Star Estates subdivision. I'm Bill Garish with Sebago Technics, and Ryan Morrill, one of the principals of True North Builders, is also here with us tonight and available to answer questions that I may not be able to. And just to kind of reiterate on the project, the site is off Ohio Ridge Road. It is a 19-acre site. It's on tax map 13, lot 52E. It is in the rural neighborhood district. There are a couple of small areas that are within 250 feet of NWI wetlands that would be in the shoreland district, the limited residential district. And that would be right in this corner here and then out in this area over here. So just barely sneaking onto the site in a couple areas. We had a site walk on March 17th, which many of you attended. As you noticed on the site walk, the site is relatively flat. It's undeveloped, it's wooded. The slopes range from about 1% to 5% throughout the site. The soils on the site are mostly moderately well-drained soils. There are some areas down in the westerly portion of the site based on the Class D medium intensity soil survey that are somewhat poorly drained soils, and there's also a few areas of poorly drained soils. There were a number of test pits done on the site that align with that mapping and that determination, and we'll discuss that a little more as we go. The proposed project is in the Beaver Pond watershed, which is to the north of the site. The back part of the site, which is shown as remaining land on this subdivision plan, that part of that does drain to the south to Woods Pond. So both ponds are considered water bodies most at risk and subject to phosphorus standards. The project has 8 lots proposed, about a 1,800-foot long roadway with a T turnaround or hammerhead turnaround. And this is phase 1. We did show you a sketch plan back in February, I believe, that showed 16 lots, being 8 lots, as you see here in phase 1, another 8 lots in phase 2. So there is a phase 2 planned. We're here just for phase 1, just the 8 lots that you see here. Most of the lots are somewhere between 40 and 45,000 square feet in size. Lot 1 in the corner is a little bit bigger. That's about 55,000 square feet. You can see that one's partially encumbered by a proposed stormwater basin. The lots are proposed to have private wells and private septic systems. And a stormwater management plan has been prepared that addresses both the flooding standards and the phosphorus standards. When we went to the site walk, if you remember, the entrance road is here. The drainage ditch comes down this side, and there is a 36-inch culvert that crosses Ohio Ridge Road right there. And during the site walk, we had a big rainstorm the day before. There was a couple inches of rain. The snow melt, you could see the water running everywhere. The site was wet. Those ditches were working quite well. The cross culvert was working very well. So we certainly want to make sure that occurs after this development is built. So we did provide stormwater detention and stormwater quality treatment. We have 2 under-drain soil filters in this end of the site. This one up here is larger. It picks up runoff from this. The general flow of the runoff is from this area down towards this corner. So the runoff from everything to the east side of the road, including these developed lots over here, will all be detained and treated in here. Stormwater runoff from the other side of the road gets picked up in a drainage ditch, gets conveyed down to this area here. These ponds are a little bit oversized for this phase. We're anticipating additional roadway runoff to go into them in the future phase and don't want to have to modify them at that point. And since the last submission, we've also added 3 fairly narrow 4-foot wide drainage swales. These are designed as under-drain soil filters as well. They're 4 feet wide, 2 feet deep, and they will collect runoff from these 3 lots here once they're developed. That gets conveyed down here to a level spreader, and there's a stormwater buffer proposed right here to treat that runoff, also to treat the runoff from this lot right here. And these green areas you see up here, they are also proposed wooded buffers to treat stormwater runoff from these lots once they're developed. So these kind of grayish areas you see in each of the lots are the building envelopes that are available. And again, the green area going around the perimeter of the site is the proposed 15-foot no-cut buffer. And I wasn't able to attend the last meeting in April. Mr. Seymour was here. He gave me a good rundown of the meeting. He said you had a number of good comments at the meeting on the preliminary submission. And I just wanted to take a second and go through those comments, going through his notes and discussing how we've addressed those comments. So one of the comments questioned the deed restriction or the covenants for the ability for an abutting property to use the well and to maintain a windmill in the northeast corner of the site. That well we've added to the subdivision plan. It's shown right up here. It is for there was 2 parcels by the same owner on either side of Ohio Ridge Road here, and it came from that deed. And I chased that deed back to 1939. It existed then. It may have existed earlier, but I didn't go any further than that. So looking at the well, it's your standard dug well with kind of a rock tile around it. It's got a wooden cover over it that's completely rotten, so if anybody stepped in there, they'd fall in the well. It didn't have any sign of ever being used within, it's hard to tell. It hasn't been used for a very long time. That being said, it is in the deed that is owned for a property that's owned off-site, so that deed restriction will be when Lot 1 is sold, that will be carried forward through that deed. And being up in the upper corner and serving a property off-site over here, it doesn't impact this subdivision or that property. And the comment, we did provide a Class D medium intensity soil survey in the preliminary application. The ordinance would indicate that with this configuration, a Class A high intensity soil survey could be required. We have requested a waiver from that standard. We have, again, done a number of test pits on the site, 16 total. We have some more test pits planned for the septic systems, and I'll get into that a little later. But the test pit results align very well with the Class D soil survey. We also have provided a hydrogeologic study in the updated application or the submission for this meeting, and there were additional soils testing. There were samples taken on the site, grain size analysis, and so forth. And the soils actually looked really good in that. Only about 23% passing the number 200, so that's fairly well-drained soils, good stable soils. So the conditions look good. Our wetland delineator went all over the site. He dug some hand-dug test pits looking for hydric soils for the wetlands, and he really didn't find any, with the exception of 3 little pockets back here in the site. So there are 3 small wetland areas back there. I think they total about 1,500 square feet total or so. So there has been a bunch of soil testing done. Typically, it's been my experience that a Class A high-intensity soil survey is valuable information. If you have a site that's got a lot of shallow bedrock, really high groundwater, some very poorly drained soils, which are soils that typically can't be developed on. This site has none of those conditions. There's certainly some rocks and some boulders on the site, but none of the test pits encountered any shallow bedrock. There's no indication of any clay or very poorly drained soils or any soils that would limit what we're proposing to do on this site. So in our opinion, a Class A soil survey would just add additional time, additional cost, and with all these other test pits and other testing and analyses done, we don't feel that high-intensity soil survey would provide any additional valuable information that would be required for this project. Thank you. We did touch upon the stormwater and the phosphorus calculations. I understand that was brought up at the last meeting as well. We have added the developed areas from the future houses and driveways and lawns and so forth to the study, and provided the phosphorus calculations based on Table 3.2 of the Maine DEP phosphorus standards for those areas. And the previous application had all the numbers for the road and so forth as well. So we have added that in, and that's complete. We also received a comment, I believe, regarding the underdrain soil filter outlets for these 2 areas, where the outlet pipes left kind of skewed through the no-cut buffer. We have realigned those pipes so they do go directly across the buffer, minimizing impact to those buffer areas. And then there was I'm going to flip the sheet here. So I believe it was noted at the last meeting that the well for Lot 5 is located relatively close to the stormwater basin. And we confirmed, looking at the Maine state well driller, well installer, and well pump rules, and there are no specified setbacks from stormwater basins or stormwater features such as that. That stormwater basin will have an impervious liner, so that any runoff from the pavement that gets treated through that filter, that runoff will be discharged out through the soil filter, and it won't have the opportunity to seep in the groundwater. So we don't anticipate any impacts with that. We confirm that, and that's the available areas, or the recommended available areas for wells, are also shown in the hydrogeologic study, which I'll touch on in a little more detail in just a second. We also have requested a waiver on the site distance standard. And we did provide a sketch in the revised application materials. But as you can see, there is a pretty sharp corner in the road right here. So the town standard is to provide 10 feet for every mile per hour of speed limit. So this is 40 miles per hour posted speed limit, so that would result in 400 feet of required sight distance. The Maine DOT highway standards for a non-mobility highway would require 360 feet of sight distance for a posted speed limit of 40 miles an hour. Normally, that's only 40 feet. That wouldn't make a whole lot of difference. But as we looked at the site walk, when you look up here, you see this corner, and 400 feet takes you right up to about this location. So in order to do that, we'd have to do some clearing right up through this, basically have to open up that nice big stone wall that's there and so forth. If we can reduce that to 360 feet, that would pull it back nearer to the property corner, and that would allow us to just clear within the road right away. We wouldn't have to go over the stone wall or to the stone wall. Basically just pull that line back, keep this buffer intact, and we feel that for this type of road, given that a large majority of the traffic is going to come out, they're going to go right to get back to Roosevelt Trail. Looking left, you've got all kinds of sight distance, and just given that the Maine DOT standards on a highway that would be potentially busier than Ohio Ridge Road would require 360 feet, we do feel that that's an acceptable level of safety, and it does reduce the amount of clearing that would be needed along that road right away. And then I believe there was a comment or a question about the financial capacity letter, and I'm sure Ryan can answer any more specific questions, but I'll just reiterate that the lender is a private lender. It's not a bank. However, the financial backer for this project has worked with this applicant on other similar projects. They do have an ongoing relationship, and they do have the funds to back this project. If you need additional information, I believe Ryan can either speak to that or provide information from his bank that would support that. But based on what we've provided, we feel, given the past relationship with this lender, we feel that we've met that standard. But we will leave that up to you to decide. We also wanted to address a comment that there is an abutting parcel that's either in the process or has registered their land as farmland, and we understand that requires drinking water supplies to remain 50 feet from that boundary line. And again, I'll flip the page. But the drinking water wells are proposed all up fairly close to the road. It kind of makes sense to do that so you don't have to get a drilling machine all the way back to the back of the lot. It also makes sense because we've added these stormwater ditches along here to bring the water down to a level spreader and a buffer through here. I guess in short, we don't have any water supplies anywhere near within 50 feet of the westerly boundary. I would also note too that the stormwater, you can see by the contours that the stormwater does kind of go in this direction. Back in this part of the lot, it comes more down here, and it does go off the property some before it goes kind of down in this area and goes to that 36-inch culvert that we mentioned. And these ditches will actually pick up some of that runoff and convey it down in this area. The roadway itself will also pick up a lot of that runoff and carry it down to these basins before discharging into that ditch down here. So a little less of that will come off the property and down through the property than it does now. So even with the additional development, it certainly shouldn't make anything worse with this property with regards to runoff and phosphorus and nitrates or anything like that. And it may even improve things a little bit. And I'll also jump to got another sheet here that shows the results of the hydrogeologic assessment. And as you can see, the nitrate plumes are plotted off here. They don't go anywhere near the boundaries, so they won't impact abutting properties. These blue shaded areas identify the areas that meet the setbacks from the wastewater disposal systems to the wells. And all of our proposed wells, as shown on the previous plan, are all within those blue areas. And I will say that the initial test pits done for these 3 lots were done down near the boundary. Those wastewater disposal systems are proposed up in this area. Also, this test pit done for this lot is not in the proposed wastewater disposal area. So the site evaluator who did the initial test pits is working on that this week. He's supposed to have those additional test pits done. We're also looking at doing another test pit for this one, potentially moving it up a little bit, just to create a little bigger building envelope for this lot where it is somewhat encumbered by the pond. And where these test pits are all kind of going up gradient from the existing test pits, which already passed, and the soils and the groundwater conditions tend to get better as you go up gradient on the site. We do anticipate those test pits to pass as well, but we will have those results for you, and we will include that in the final submission for next month. And then just a couple of other questions came up. I believe the proposed project is a conventional subdivision. It is not proposed as a planned unit development. We have added contours to the subdivision plan per the ordinance, and we have confirmed with the Chief Garland that the hydrant that is specified, I believe it was the wrong road that might have been included in the sketch plan, but that particular hydrant is within the 1.5 miles of the site. And then I guess with that, I will turn things back over or answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, I think we'll go to the public.
Okay.
Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to this application? Go ahead. Your name and address, please.
I'm Braun Whitney, 186 Howard Ridge Road. So I would be the western lot to this. So the way you're looking at it, I would be the almost 2,000 feet along the bottom half of this picture. That's what my lot is. I'm also the farmland. It is deeded and recorded at the state. That was more of a protection for us from if this does go through and they put in a homeowners association and 16 of them go, we don't like living in the rural area with, you know, chickens and farm sounds, and they decide to try to change that. The farmland stuff protects us from them coming at us for that. One of my big concerns with this project is I've been there for 10 years. It's a very rural road, rural setting. That's why we moved there. The size of this project alone it's not rural. It's basically wiping out this 19-acre lot. So going to some of the stuff that is in the ordinances and the land use codes. This is in the residential area, so bear with me, I'm not used to doing this. The land use code states that the purpose of the rural neighborhood district is to protect the rural character and natural beauty of these areas while supporting low density residential development at no more than 1 unit per 2 acres, or cluster housing development allowing lots that are smaller or condominium clusters to occupy a percentage of land in order to preserve the open space and the environmental features. They're saying this is obviously not a cluster development, which that means the back half of this property is also going to get used. These lots at that point would be well under 2 acres apiece, which that doesn't follow that from what I'm seeing. The other question would be the DUA for the area. With them proposing it the way it is now, they're looking at a 0.84 for a DUA in the area, which for residential, it's supposed to be 0.5. The other thing that would concern me with it is the...
Excuse me.
Oh, yes.
DUA, just clarify for me.
Yes, where is it? The, oh, I'm sorry, did I word that wrong? Yeah, DUA, the dwelling units per acre.
You're saying in the subdivision regs or somewhere else?
This is all in the land use code for a subdivision. It's saying in the register, the rural neighborhood district, as stated, 1 units per 2 acres. It's saying for a rural neighborhood, it shouldn't be below 0.5 dwellings per acre.
Okay, just recognize that this falls under, for lot size and number of dwellings per lot. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no,
Just to
please.
clarify.
You know this better than I do.
This, maybe.
I hope.
This, because it's a subdivision, falls under the subdivision regs. And in the subdivision regs, the lot size requirements to be followed are the ones in the subdivision regs, not the ones in the district. That's the same for frontage. However, the other dimensional standards, setbacks, those sorts of things do count. So just so you're aware.
Okay, so they're not held to the 1 lot per 2 acres?
No,
Okay,
no,
so
that's part of the
isn't that right in
regs.
the thing? Okay,
Deb, you might explain that a little better.
Well, maybe you can explain it better than I can. So if a subdivision application is made, which is going to be obviously for splitting up lots or placing homes on lots or both, the requirements, the dimensional requirements for that, for lot size and frontage, are driven by the subdivision regulations, which in essence are providing a bit of a density bonus for having a set of homes in one defined area. But in addition, the only land that can be counted in that is land that's suitable for development. So if there's a lot of land that's not suitable for development, that's backed out of the area available. In the case of this application, and I should probably let the applicant speak, there's not a lot of land that's unsuitable for development. Things like slopes, wetlands, those sorts of things. But Rolf, I don't know if I explained it the way you were thinking I'd explain it, so if you have something to add,
Well,
please
I'm just
do.
going to say subdivision requirements for lot size are smaller than what's in the district.
Correct. They're basically 1 acre per dwelling unit.
okay, because when I was reading through the land subdivision rules, it said if it was in, from what I read, it said if the subdivision was in a rural neighborhood district, it had to follow the units, which would be the 1 acre, one lot per 2 acres.
If you look-
Unless they were doing a cluster development, which then would allow them to do the 40,000 square foot lot, but they would have to then at that point leave phase 2 untouched and deeded as a common area.
Yeah. If you look at in the subdivision regs, it does not have to be a cluster development. That's an intent statement, obviously not a standard, but if you look at those regs and you look at the chart on the dimensional standards in the district, you'll see that there's an explanation paragraph in the beginning that makes an exception for subdivisions.
Okay, so none of that holds to anything.
No, I mean, if this land was half wetlands, then you wouldn't be able to put as many lots on it.
Right, well,
Okay.
part of that too, the soil test was done back in October of last year, which we were in one of the worst droughts we've had in years. I'm pretty sure everybody here knows how dry it was last year. Which is a big part of why it came up that way. So I guess we'll find out if this has anything to do with it then. So the buffer strip going around it, it's saying that the buffer strip must consist of undisturbed vegetation as long as the existing vegetation consists of mature trees and it acts as an effective screen. If the existing vegetation provides a poor visual screen, a mix of new landscaping, including trees, shrubs, and grasses must be planted. Does that sound right? That was in the-
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, that's all the same land use code, so I'm just making sure some of this is. This is stating they want to do a 15-foot wide no-cut buffer, but in the rural guidelines, it states that it should be 25 feet.
Okay,
Which, are those also?
those are two different
waived?
things, so I'll try to see if I'm answering your question properly.
Yeah,
And if I'm not, I'll just have the applicant come up. The 25 feet that's in the dimensional guidelines is for a structure, okay? That's a structural setback, so in other words, you can't have a structure in those 25 feet.
right.
And structures defined in the code.
But
In
also-
terms of a buffer, for this type of subdivision, the buffer, which would be within the setback, within that 25 feet, is 15 feet around the perimeter.
Right.
So, did I say that? Did I get that right?
Yes.
I think I did.
Okay.
So the 25 feet that you see in the dimensional table is our setbacks.
Okay. Now, it's saying no cut as long as there's effective mature trees.
Correct, yeah.
They're
yeah.
not effective mature trees. I went out, I actually took pictures Sunday of my boundary line to that. Could I show you those?
Did you
Or-
submit them to
I just
staff?
took them Sunday, no. I have 2 copies of them if they want a copy.
What I would do is I would submit those to staff so that the board can review them, but yeah, I think that would be very helpful if we could
Because
could look
from
at
my
those.
boundary line,
Yep,
looking towards them, and a lot of the areas, there's not even trees within that 15 feet.
okay. So can you sort of point to on the map where that is?
So the spots I have some pictures of would be like here. There's not even, there's nothing between me and the rock wall there. There's spots, because this lot and my lot about 15 years ago were both logged, because they at one point were one lot. So there's, as you probably saw at the site walk, a lot of skidder trails and ruts that go through both pieces of the property. And none of those are grown in. It's all just those thin little alders, so there's no actual coverage there. And a lot of those are 20, 30 feet wide. So I don't know how that's an effective no-cut, which would be a concern
So
from
you-
them.
Okay, so
I
you're
mean,
pointing
I
to the
don't feel like I
standard
should have to
about,
keep a
yep.
50-foot buffer on my half, you know what I mean, to not
Okay.
have to see.
Let me ask a question of the applicant, Mr. Garish. When we did the site walk, we were close to one boundary. Was it the boundary on the top there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
You walk the upper part of it?
we walked down the road. When we came up, we did go up kind of in this area,
Okay.
then came back down. And
So we wouldn't have
didn't get
seen the
on this
border.
boundary, no.
Okay.
It does look pretty consistent with, the area.
Okay.
So basically where you guys came to the site walk and you first walked in,
Yeah.
that's what those skidder trails, that opening, that's what it looks like periodically through that entire side on
Okay.
mine. Because they logged from there to me, not from there up through, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So no landscaping plan or any real definite effective screening in there would be a concern for me.
So I would submit those photos, and if the board feels we need another site walk and walk the border of Mr. Whitney's property, we can always do that.
Yeah.
So please submit those, and Mr. Garish, if you would like to submit photos, you may you may also do that. And then the board can look at those and make a determination of.
Which, yeah, there are spots where, yes, it's dense and you can't see, but
Yeah,
there is a
okay.
lot of spots along that border that, like I said, are
All righty,
concerned.
thank you for that.
What was the other part of it? The comprehensive plan. I guess that's usually taken into consideration for these things too, as long as the project aligns with the comprehensive plan. So the last one that was done, the 2025 comprehensive plan, that's what I'm referring to, is that the only one I've seen on anything online?
Well, I'm glad you've read it, but that is the one that you're gonna vote on come June. The current one is 2014.
2014, okay. So
But go ahead.
if I read to that, that's not gonna really matter then at this point then?
Well, you'd have to go to the same section and, you know,
Read the old one from
see what it
24.
says. But
Okay.
go ahead and make your point.
So basically, it's saying, it gives a summary of the responses that was done in '24. Feedback was collected from residents about the rural resident area in Bridgton. The feedback was received that the residents want to protect the open space, natural resources, and there is several concerns about rapid housing growth and development that has resulted in the loss of Bridgton's woodlands and forested area. When this was first proposed, it's kind of come off now, but it's still kind of there. They're not showing you the second half for phase two, which a lot of things I've read in there, they're supposed to show the project as a whole, even though they're only talking about phase one. In the back of phase two, there is an easement, there's 60 feet, that literally stated for access to connect to southern properties to then also extend this project even further. So my fear is this is gonna go from 8 to 16 to then 32, and now this is no longer a rural area at all. Which is why, again, we made sure we got the farmland in to protect us from any kind of homeowner association or whatnot. So again, they're talking about the soil test being done. They said, I've owned the lot next to it for 10 years. They've had it for 10 months. That site is regularly pretty wet. The water that comes from that site comes to mine. The water that comes from the lot to the right of me comes to me. And the skidder ruts that you found on there, those are there because the lot is wet. So I feel like if they're gonna have to do the soil tests, why only do the D? Do the A that's required. Because I'm worried they're gonna start getting into this, realize it's a lot more wet than what they think, and it's gonna end up in a giant sloppy mess.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Yeah, when you're talking about farmland enrollment, are you enrolled in open space farmland classification for property tax purposes? Or did you put
No,
a
no.
agricultural easement on your property? How is it protected?
It's, the land itself is deeded as just farmland. I don't have it enrolled in any kind of tax benefits or any of that, so it's more of a protection for me from, like noise complaints and, that kind of stuff.
So what's the state program then that it's in, that it's deeded? So is it a deed of conservation easement, or? Here it is. I can look at it later, I was just
Yeah.
curious what the program was.
Yeah, hold on, I can try and answer your question. Farmland certification,
Oh, Department of Agriculture and Forestry, okay.
okay. And then it has some requirements for the abutters, which Mr. Gare just spoke to.
Yeah, none of the requirements really gonna affect anything that he's doing. But yeah, the soil test I was saying was a concern of mine, because I know when I put my house in, I was having to do a lot more groundwork. Obviously, it's not the same lot, but if it's literally right next to it and used to be one lot, I would be kind of concerned with that. In the letter from Kopi that you guys did receive, they mentioned how the wetlands that you guys questioned when you were there, well, the areas that you questioned that might look like wetlands, were, where is it here? Due to compaction as a result, and create a condition for wet life plants to flourish, but they're claiming it's not wetlands. because of these skidder rods. But that site is in fact a lot wetter than what it's proposed as. Another question of concern is there's a lot of people that walk that road. I don't know if it's been brought up, if people realize it, but the Winona Summer Camp is also on that strip, just down the road, which increases traffic obviously in the summer. They did just open up a wedding event venue a little further down the road, which they're going to be running from May to October, which is also going to increase traffic on the road. There's a lot of people that walk on that road, dogs and just people in general. And that corner that you guys come around to it, as you saw, is kind of a blind corner. Usually when I come around it, you're having to slow down and dip into the oncoming lane because there is somebody walking. So visibility there is pretty important. So some things to keep in mind.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very, very much.
Yes.
Bill, I don't know how you want to do this, if you want to address Mr. Whitney's questions now, or, and do that back and forth now, or if you would like to hear if there are other butters that have questions and then answer them all at once.
I'd be happy to answer them all at once if there's other comments.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? Name and address, please.
Hello, I'm Beth McAvoy, and I live on 45 Frost Farm Road. I went on the site walk. I was really surprised to see how wet it was. In my opinion, that whole area of Ohio Ridge and Frost Farm Road where I live, which also has a tributary called Carissa Road, is all kind of a bowl. There are bridges in there, but it's a bowl. And that is one of the lowest parts of that whole bowl. Ohio Ridge is posted every year, repaired every summer. There are frost heaves every year right near this site. So I know that the town is going to have to do something about the water runoff that is already going. It's not effectively done. It's also going into Beaver Pond. I'm worried about the 5 or 10 years in the future. At this point, North Star also owns the next property to the east of it, where that curve is in the road. They own that piece right there. Next to them is another gentleman who has 16 acres, and his acreage goes straight back all the way to Carissa Drive, which is across that whole bowl. There are several other owners, but this guy has pretty much a narrow area right to Carissa Drive. In that bowl is a deer yard. There's 2 small ponds. I just feel as though we're chewing up the forest. We're chewing up the woods so that people can live on 1-acre lots with garages, sheds, driveways, wells, leaching fields. Where do we stop? I just don't think this is the right location for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, is there anybody on the remote link there, that video, that would like to speak? Okay, Bill, it sounds like the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and we appreciate the comments. I guess just starting out with the density assessment, I guess we read the ordinance and understand the ordinance as you explained it, so we're on board with that. And with regards to the soils and the fact that the soils, the wetland delineation was done last year, it was done during a dry period. The wetlands are delineated based on 3 criteria, as you're probably aware. One would be the presence of hydric soils, the dominant presence of dominant wetland species, and then based on, just straight hydrology. Is there, standing water, or is there, enough moisture to sustain the wetland species? And as stated in the wetland report, there were pockets of hydric soils found throughout the site. However, due mostly to the hydrology or the runoff patterns, there wasn't enough water there for a long enough period to sustain a predominant growth of wetland species. And so basically the site is covered with pretty much is dominant with upland species. I'm not a wetland scientist. Mr. Copey has been doing this for a very long time. He actually used to manage the NERPA program for the Maine DEP. His work has been, exceptional in my experience in the past. I don't, soils basically would not change during wet conditions or dry conditions. The soils are going to be the same. I would also point out that in the hydrogeologic report, the soil samples taken, these were taken on April 15th this year, which is definitely a wet time of the year. Soil samples indicate that the subsoils are generally consistent across the site and are described as fine to medium gravelly sand with some fines. None of the soil tests have indicated any type of silt or clay material in any of the soils, which you would typically find in hydric soils or soils that would sustain wetland vegetation. So, I mean, the tests were done both during wet conditions and dry conditions, and everything seems to be consistent from what we can see. With regards to the buffer on the westerly side, we will take a harder look at that. As you saw with the site, from what we've seen, that area looks very similar to the area we walked. Certainly there has been some tree removal, logging operations in the past. There are some open areas. Anywhere out there you can see, anywhere from a few feet to, quite a ways. The no-cut buffer, we believe on the westerly boundary and around the whole boundary, if just left undisturbed and left to come back, it will fill in more in the areas where it's sparse. There are areas that, it does provide an effective buffer. Is it going to block 100% view of everything? I don't think any vegetated buffer will. You can always see through vegetation in certain conditions at certain angles, but we feel the best way to maintain an effective buffer along that area is to just allow the existing vegetation to remain undisturbed and to allow it just to come back naturally over time. But again, we will take a harder look at that area. We'll walk that area. If we do feel that additional plantings are needed in some areas, then we will update the plan accordingly.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea.
Okay, and we'll provide photos. Certainly, it's your right to do another site walk, but we did initially submit the sketch plan for this back in December, It did take us till February to get on for that, and then due to the full agendas, we are kind of getting into the season. So, I mean, we are requesting preliminary approval this evening, and we're hoping to get final approval next month if we can address all your comments. So that's our goal.
I have one question about where the openings are. Were any of those areas stumped or grubbed?
I don't believe any of the areas were grubbed. It was all just tree removal. And I don't believe that I don't believe anything has been disturbed since then, at least on our side of the property line. And then just getting into the Phase 2, there's been discussion about Phase 2 and future development in the area. We did add the 60-foot right-of-way as a possible future connection. That's typically a good planning standard that most towns would want to see on a subdivision plan. It may never be used, and certainly Phase 2 may or may not be exactly as we laid it out in the sketch plan, but I guess I would just note that we are here to meet the standards in your ordinance for just the Phase 1 development right now. Certainly any future phases will have to go through this whole process again and meet your standards again, as well as DEP standards. And again, with the subdivision ordinance, as compared to the standard ordinance that requires the 2-acre size as opposed to 1 acre, there certainly are a number of standards in the stormwater or in the subdivision ordinance that you wouldn't normally need to meet. So with the type of development here and the configuration of the lots, it isn't going to be a really dense type development. And then I guess I would just like to respond to the drainage patterns. The top of the watershed is actually just up off the property right here. So basically, you've got a high point there where everything goes in multiple directions. You can kind of see that the contours run kind of like this, and then over here they run that way. So everything's kind of going in, various directions, but all, working their way down in this area. We're certainly not in the low point of that watershed that would be described as a bowl, in our opinion. The water does flow through that, but you don't have a lot of off-site hydrology that comes in that area, with the exception of what's in this parcel up here. Again, I would just, reiterate that when we did our site walk, it was after a very heavy rain. There was still snow on the ground and snow melt, and there was some water on the ground. But again, the soils and the vegetation don't indicate that it is undevelopable land and doesn't meet the criteria of wetlands. And I believe, instead of dropping things, I think that's our response to the comments.
Ms. Day, yeah?
Somebody online would like to speak.
Okay.
Has a question.
Okay, well, we have them ask a question first, and then there's one thing go ahead, please.
Roberta.
Roberta, please state your name and address.
My name is Roberta Manter. I actually live in Fayette, but I own property on Carissa Drive. And I just have one question. I know that after we bought our property, we got a hold of a map from the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS, and they had done out a custom soil resource report for the area of Carissa Drive, which I believe somebody mentioned earlier backs up to this subdivision area. And according to the report, it shows our entire area on Carissa as kind of an orangey red, and if you look at the key, it lists that as being soil rating very limited. and that's for purposes of septic systems and that sort of thing. I do know that there are some of the houses that were built along Carissa Drive where they put in a basement, and we're very surprised that the basement promptly filled with water. We weren't at all surprised because we know the area is very wet. I just don't know how far out that soil type extends, but I was wondering if anybody has obtained a map from NRCS to determine what the soil quality is. The sound is kind of difficult hearing from here, so I apologize if this is a question that's already been answered.
Yep. Okay, well, I'll let Mr. Garish answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just state that the soils mapping that we provided with the application was the NRCS soils mapping. So we didn't look at what the soils mapping was too far off the site, but in our site, it's the soils described in that report as well as what we've described here today.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that, that's on the remote link that would like to speak? Okay. Or if there's a follow-up question. Okay. You spoke to it a little bit, but I think one question that was brought up by Mr. Whitney was around the traffic and concern for overburdening Ohio Ridge Road, so maybe you could speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, the traffic generated from the 8 residential lots, you know, I guess just in general, would maybe create, as a general rule of thumb, a residential lot might create 10 vehicle trips per day. That would be certainly much less than, you know, and that's not just in the peak hour, but that's just kind of a general rule of thumb. And that generally wouldn't impact any type of traffic as far as having to add, you know, turn lanes or anything like that. You would need a much higher level of traffic to create actual impacts that would be noticeable. So basically, traffic from 8 residential lots, given the, you know, the density of development that's out there now, we wouldn't anticipate any significant level of safety concerns. Certainly, you know, pedestrians on the road would be a concern, you know, not only future conditions, but current conditions. There really are no sidewalks in the area, and adding sidewalks along Ohio Ridge Road for a big length of the road would be a big endeavor. But currently they don't exist, and our project isn't expected to create any additional impacts in that regard.
Okay. All right, anybody else from the public? All right, I will, I think one thing that might be helpful as a, for the final is, I don't think it was in the application, is an estimate of trip counts per day for the whole subdivision.
Yep.
And whether it trips any kind of additional traffic analysis or state standards. And you could also provide that to our new Public Works Director, who's right behind you.
Okay.
And have him comment on whether he sees that from a municipal perspective an issue.
Okay, absolutely.
All right, we'll go to the board with questions. Kathy?
Yes. When you look at lots 1 and 5, do you believe that they'd meet our definition of corner lots?
I'm not familiar with that part of your, or that definition in your ordinance, but It is, they are on an intersection of two roads, so we,
You just hit the definition.
okay.
So which ones are you talking about? You're concerned they're corner lots?
1 and 5, where Ohio Ridge,
Are there any public roads
Yeah,
on
High
either
Ridge.
side? So you're saying they're creating a corner lot in the subdivision?
yes,
Okay.
which means that they must meet the requirements and setbacks of a corner lot. Which leads me to my second question was, are the data that you gave us, they look like total areas of the lots as opposed to the buildable area of the lots, which is defined in our section 4-4B, subpart 2C, as a surface area of lots minus area of all the required setbacks. So if you could provide that information, we would be most grateful.
So Kathy, just a comment on corner lots. I believe to be a corner lot, it has to be on two public,
Public
Roads.
roads? Okay, then, okay.
and one is
Doesn't
private.
say in the
Our
definition,
definition does not indicate that they have to be public,
does not indicate it.
just two roads, the intersection of two roads.
It does say public somewhere. I think it has to do where it
Look at
says,
roads.
talks about public lot lines. But we should address that at some point.
Yes, if we don't have it as public, then,
And I'm not really sure how we handle, to me, it is one large parcel being split up, and there's a private interior road.
right,
I'm just not sure that
it fits.
that counts, but
I mean, that's,
I'm not dissing it, I'm just saying, I'm not sure.
Right.
Go ahead, Maggie.
I was just gonna say,
Oh, okay, go ahead.
sorry. I mean, it will be a road.
Say again,
Like,
speak
it
up.
will be a road, right?
But a public one, or is it going
It
to be
doesn't
private?
need to. It's just, a corner lot is defined as a lot abutting and at the intersection of two or more roads.
Okay.
And the road itself is being used as frontage for the other lots.
The road, say again, Ralph?
So the road's being used as frontage for the other lots. We're treating the road for 6, 7, and 8, and 2, 3, and 4.
The interior road?
Sorry.
That is what it says. Yeah, I think that's the first I've ever heard of anything like that coming up.
A second time,
Huh?
second time,
The second time.
yeah. A couple years ago.
Well, that'll be an interesting thing to deliberate on.
Okay, want me to keep going?
I just, one moment,
Sure.
one moment. Well, maybe we'll come back to this, but, I believe that setback lines, so it's a corner lot, but I believe that setback lines pertain to public lot lines. And that wouldn't be a public lot line because it's a private road. I'd have to go find it, I believe that's written in the dimensional standards somewhere. But, we'll have to, obviously, we'll have to look at that. So in the rural neighborhood, So if you go look up front setback line and common lot line in the definitions, I think those will point you to adjoining public roads. And the only reason I'm going this far is because we may want Mr. Garrish to come back with something if we have a different conclusion than kind of where I'm going it to. So, minimum front setback line, a line paralleling a public lot line along the full length of the public lot line, which is the closest distance a structure or building facade can be from the public lot line. If it's a minimum setback line, so it has to be between two lines, then that can be from any given lot line. But in terms of a minimum setback, at least what I'm reading in here, it says from the front, it's a setback from the front lot line, which is defined as a public lot line, on a public road. And then, common lot line. A lot line shared between properties other than a public lot line. So that would say that that lot line where the private road is a common lot line. That would be, I mean, that's just my opinion, but when the board deliberates, I guess we have to think about that. Ms. Day, do you have any input?
My computer just died on me, so I was trying to look it up, and I'm like, oh, so I'm using my phone, but, yeah, I can look into that a little bit more. I don't think we've ever done that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
It came up with the parking lot
Something
for
to
the
look at for sure.
skier for Pleasant Mountain.
Those are both.
That's where the last time we talked about corner lots.
The parking area for the ski area adjoins two public roads, Mountain Road and Route 302, so it has to have a 75-foot setback. In this case, you've got the public road, which requires the 75-foot setback for sure, and then you've got the common lot line, which is in the other area, which requires a 25-foot setback. And there's something else in the code that talks about
Well, it says,
if it's a corner lot, you have to meet both, but that might be in the section that doesn't apply to
says a lot abutting
subdivisions.
or at the intersection of two more roads, that's a corner lot.
Correct,
And,
but we're talking about setbacks.
okay. And then roads are defined not as public, but as,
Correct. So, let me just see what it says about. See, I believe that corner lots, and that stipulation about corner lots are in are in the space and bulk standards. If I can ever get to them. Where am I here? Am I in the shore? Yeah, that's why. Rural neighborhood. Corner lots. So in the rural neighborhood, and let me just caveat this with space and bulk requirements are not required to be met in subdivision. It tells you that in the code. But how it describes corner lots and the requirements, if it did apply, all structures located on corner lots must comply with all applicable standards with respect to each road. So you have a public road, which is a public lot line, which must have a 75-foot setback. And you have a private road, which creates the corner, but is a private road, which creates a common lot line, just like the other common lot lines between the lots. And that basically says you need to be 25 feet.
So basically, the setbacks have to change on lots 1 and 5.
Well, on the public road, yes.
Yeah, and
But-
we have no issue with that. With the ponds there, obviously, the buildings are going to meet those setbacks.
I mean, it's a board vote, but from what I've just read, the code differentiates setbacks from common lot lines, which are on non-public roads, versus public lot lines, which are on public roads. So if that actually, so when I was asking you the question, Kathy, if there was a road here, or a road here that was a public road, they would have to have 75 feet here. If this, I guess the question here is, this has to remain a private road, because if it becomes a public road, then it changes the specs.
So I guess my question is, do the boundaries go back to 75 feet here, but move forward to 25 feet on there?
Say that again?
Because this is the public road, if you put a 75-foot setback, that would move the setback line to about there. But these lines, which are set back 75 feet here, would move closer to the private road. Is that how you're interpreting it? Am I getting that?
What I'm saying is, these two lots, all along here, would show a 25-foot setback, I believe. This has to be a 75-foot setback. So it's got to be 3 times what this is, which means it comes into the stormwater feature, which the other question we have to answer, is that a structure or not? If it's not a structure, it doesn't matter. If it is a structure, it does matter. It has to be in a different place. So you take 75 feet here, it's going to come out to, looks like right about on the edge, right there. And you do it right here, it's also going to cut into there, okay? However, on this road, which is a private road, the setback here, I'm saying, is 25 feet because it's private. And because this is a common lot line according to the definition, this is a public lot line according to the definition. It has to meet the setbacks for both the common lot line and this one, but this setback is different. And in the space and bulk standards, it doesn't say to select the most restrictive. It just says you gotta meet it for each road. So, that's my interpretation, but,
Yep.
And just getting back to the earlier question too, I guess I'd request a little clarification. The section in the subdivision ordinance describes the minimum lot size. Lot size shall be calculated to include only net buildable land. The minimum lot size for any residential or commercial subdivision lot is 40,000 square feet per dwelling unit. And then the definition of net buildable land is total area of the land after subtracting the land not suitable for development. And the definition of land not suitable for development is The following areas not suitable for development: significant wetlands, streams, brooks, ponds, vernal pools, stormwater drainage features, public and private rights-of-ways, land zoned or designated as resource protection, slopes in excess of 25%, and significant wildlife habitat as delineated by the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. Land subject to flooding and land deemed by the planning board to be uninhabitable shall not be plotted for residential occupancy, or for such other uses as may increase danger to health, life or property. So I'm not, I guess, sure where we would have to subtract out the building setback areas.
No, you don't subtract those out.
Okay,
You don't subtract those out, but you have to mind them, so
yeah,
you can't have a structure within that 75 feet or
Perfect.
within the 25 feet.
okay.
And what I would suggest, so I'm not sure we'll get the tentative approval tonight, but what I would suggest is obviously modify the map for the 75 feet and to look at, I mean, I guess I can ask Brenda this question for the board, but if those stormwater features are structures, they're partially in the setback area and would need to be moved. If they're not structures and they're under-drained, what are they? Under-drained soil filter,
Yeah.
soil? If they're not structures, and I mean, the board, if they want to, can look at the definition of a structure outside the shoreline zone. If they're not structures, then they can stay there.
Structure outside the shoreline zone is anything constructed, erected, or placed on the ground that is permanent, temporary, or mobile, including buildings, mobile homes, recreational buildings, piers and pads, parking lots, display of products, and storage processing facilities. This definition does not include boundary walls, fences, walks, patios, flagpoles, light poles, and signs. I don't believe the stormwater ponds will be completely vegetated with the exception of some riprap for erosion control, and will basically take in water. They're fairly shallow. They're only about 4 feet deep, and just basically graded, grassed areas. So I don't
They're not a structure.
believe those would be a
They're
structure.
not a structure.
Doesn't sound like it. Ms. Day, would you, I know we've run into this before, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I think there's a section in the ordinance, I wish my computer would work, but it's not, that has a spot where we ran into this with septic systems. Couldn't go in
Right,
buffer.
right.
And I don't know where that is in there. So I don't,
I think it's in, I think it's in
But I
the
don't-
section in subdivision for buffers.
and I don't think that would be considered a structure, but we should look at that section just to verify.
Buffers.
She found it.
No buildings or structures may be erected in the 15-foot buffer strip. If the district setback for structures is less than the required buffer strip, the buffer strip requirement supersedes, which is not the case. Buffer strip must not be used to store trash, personal property, or vehicles, and must not be used to install septic systems or wells. So the 15-foot buffer strip, according to the buffer rules, as long as there's not a setback, as long as there's not a septic there, it's okay.
I think it's fine.
According to the definition of structure, it sounds like the board is saying that the under-drained soil filter is not a structure.
And the under-drained soil filters do stay outside the 15-foot area.
Yeah, it's, you kind of got two things that have to be addressed, the buffer and the setback. And sounds like,
There's more.
yeah, go ahead. Sounds like you do need to adjust those setbacks, and I don't know
Right.
if
and that-
if that'll drive any other changes. Go ahead, Kathy, and
Sure.
speak loudly into this thing.
I'll do my best. In section 6-4, application submission requirements for the preliminary, under B, part 2, it does ask for the buildable area of each lot. I know you've got it marked out, but it'd be helpful to have, the actual square footage of those, particularly as they're going to change. I also would like to bring up, we've had a back and forth about well location for lots 1 and 5, and I know that you went to the well drillers, but I don't think you went to volume 3 of the Stormwater Design Manual on page 6, Best Management Practices Selection Matrix, Design Restrictions and Setbacks for Filtration Methodologies, 100-foot setback to drinking water wells. Please review.
Okay.
Is that public drinking water or just any well water?
It just said drinking water wells.
Is it drinking water with
It didn't say
With-
public water.
what's that?
It didn't say public water, it just said
It
drinking
didn't have a
water.
state statute reference?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
Okay, there.
Where's that,
And
Kathy?
is that,
So
has
that-
the town,
It's-
that's part of the town's requirements in that state BMPs, I assume, or?
Volume 3 of the Stormwater Design
Yeah,
Manual?
yeah,
Well, yeah, I'm sure you used it for
Yeah,
other
for
aspects of
phosphorus,
this.
yeah.
Yes. I had another question about some of the soils, because the hydrogeologic report reports that he observed Herman soils, and yet the soils tests done last, is it done during the fall or the winter? Anyway, the one that's done prior reported Skerry and Colonel soils.
yeah.
And Herman soils are different from both Skerry and Colonel soils, so if you could clarify that for us, I would be ever so grateful.
Okay, yeah, Herman soils are
Different.
very stony, sandy loam. Herman, very stony, consist of deep, well-drained to somewhat excessively drained soils that are moderately coarse and coarse textured to coarse textured. The names are a little bit different, but that's pretty much what we were seeing out there is well-drained,
Right, but if you could
coarse
clarify
soils.
why one set of
Okay.
evaluators were seeing some soils, and the other evaluator, who was
Yeah.
doing the hydrogeologic study, was seeing different soils
Sure.
on the same sites.
Yeah.
And what the implications of that potentially are.
Okay,
I was also asking if we could get design details for under-drained filters 3, 4, and 5. And to that, I have a question, both about your routing diagram. Doesn't 1.3P flow into 1.2P and thence to 1.1P before it goes to the diversion? That's not what's depicted in the routing diagram.
okay, yeah, we can adjust that. It ends up being all to the same place in the end, but yeah,
Right,
well, we can
right,
adjust
but,
that.
And the reason I'm asking for that is that all 3 ponds on the drawings are 4 feet wide by 150 feet long, and yet the storage volume for pond 1.2 was designated as 2,321 cubic feet, while ponds 1.1 and 1.3 are 934 and 932 cubic feet respectively.
Yeah.
So if you could clarify that, I
Yeah.
would be most grateful.
Yep.
Other than that, I think that's all my questions.
You sure?
What?
Kathy,
sure?
could
I
you
am
just
sure.
repeat where you said for a preliminary subdivision application, you cited,
Sure.
I think you cited something
It's
to
our
do.
page 118. On our page 118, section 6-4, application submission requirements, preliminary subdivision plan.
Yep.
Oh God, I'm not wearing my glasses. This is awful. Oh, yeah. You go down to B, Part B, items 2 and C, proposed lot lines with approximate dimensions, lot numbers, area in square feet, buildable area.
Okay,
And
yep.
suggested locations of buildings.
Yep, okay. I thought you had one other that had to do with the wells.
Yes, that would be back, the wells. That is Volume 3 of the Stormwater Design Manual. On page 6, the best management practice selection matrix, design restrictions and setbacks for filtration methodologies. It also lists all the others, but that was the
Okay.
one of interest. 100 feet to drinking water wells.
Okay, so if you
I
could,
can cite that.
100 feet to drinking water wells, did it say?
Drinking water wells, and I
Okay.
can pull up the page and send it to you
Okay.
for that.
No, what I would say is just put it in the, send it to Laura Lee and put it in the OneDrive.
Okay.
And then, Mr. Garish, if you could address that, that would be
We
great.
certainly can, yeah. Yeah,
All
and I
right.
guess it was our understanding that by showing the building envelopes, we met that standard, but you're looking for the square footage.
I am.
Yeah,
Okay. Understanding that there's a net lot area requirement, but not a square footage standard, okay.
all right.
All right, thank you.
Jessica? Maggie?
No new questions, just a comment. I don't remember looking at that culvert, how across Ohio Ridge Road. I know you indicated hopefully the stormwater system improves.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, it's
It's off the property, okay,
So by detaining the water,
yeah.
we would be slightly reducing the peak flow to that culvert.
Okay.
And it was, we've been monitoring that, and it's fairly deep down, the ditch is fairly deep, and it did seem to be working fine.
Ralph?
I'm good. I just want to thank Kathy for being the engineer on the board.
I actually picked up those couple of little things on the treatment volumes just as we were printing it out, and they don't reflect the grading, so you're very detailed in your review.
I don't have any questions now.
Erica? I have a few. First of all, thank you for addressing the questions the board had
Yes.
at the first meeting. We talked about the buffers and the photo and the potential of adding landscape, so that was definitely would fall on that. You addressed, if I understand it correctly, you addressed, you did the phosphate calculations in a way that considered the second phase, correct? There's some old stone walls shown on the map. Are any of those going to be removed? It looks like the internal drive there goes between the walls, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, your assessment is correct. There is a stone wall here, and it kind of breaks up the drainage, so we proposed the level spreader to just basically match into that wall. So it'll pull this water, out into this way and into the buffer. So our intent is to leave that stone wall intact as well.
okay. And does the board want more in financial capacity or not?
No, I think we're good.
Can't remember if you said this or not, but it sounded like in the hydrogeology report, they recommended doing additional test pits for lots 5 through 8.
Yeah, that's correct. That's just because we moved the disposal areas. The test pits were initially done very early on in the stage. We didn't really know how we were going to lay out the stormwater. So the test pit for 5 is up here near the pond, which we wouldn't, we wouldn't want the septic system there. The test pits for these 3 lots were down near the boundary line, and we want them upgrading it further. So we were going to do new test pits just to confirm that those
Okay,
areas
so
are suitable.
that would be submitted with the.
Yeah,
Fine.
those will be done
Okay.
this week, and we'll put them in the next
And,
submission.
The other question I had is just looking at the map and where the suitable places for wells are. I'm thinking you're not gonna put a well in the middle of a buffer because you'd have to cut a bunch of trees on lot. It looks like it fits, but I think it's lot, well, I'll just point to the lot, it's easier. I think it's lot 3. Yeah, this lot right here, lot 3.
Yep.
And if you go back, you have a stormwater buffer there.
Yep.
The other buffer's back here. So I was just looking at, how big the stormwater buffer is. And,
Yep.
looks like you got the well just outside it, so
Yep.
I guess that's fine. As long as that's not in as long as it's in the well location, I don't need
Yeah.
to match these two up.
Yeah.
Because you've got it right in here somewhere,
Yeah.
so. Just saying, maybe match up the blue to where the well location is, so you know that it's not in the wrong place.
Yes.
And, there'll be an HOA with the final for road maintenance?
Yes, we can do that.
And you're gonna need a road entrance permit, and, I don't know if the Public Works Director had a chance to do this, if you had, Bruce, right, Mr.
Yes,
Warren?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
If you had a chance to just look at the specs for the road and confirm it's built to town standards?
I have not seen it, this is the first I've seen it.
Okay.
So, I don't know if they talked to anybody before I was
Yeah,
appointed, but
so I could just ask the applicant, I guess, so you said, so the road is gonna be a gravelled road, at least to start,
Yep.
and I think you indicated it met all the town specs?
We did, yeah.
You're not asking for it to be a non-conforming road?
That's correct. We followed the
Okay.
material specs and all the depths required in that section of the ordinance.
Mr.
fact,
Warren, if you want to, when you're considering the site distance, I mean, you can take a quick look at the, oh, I'm sorry, Kimball, I called you Warren.
that's okay.
You guys all live right next to each other, that's the problem. I'm very sorry, I apologize for that. So I don't know if the rest of the board knows you, but this is Bruce Kimball, our new Public Works Director.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you. I would say initially, off the top of my head, this is the 8 homes, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we already plow out there, we sand. That's not gonna impact the transfer station, so,
Okay.
yeah.
And what about reducing the site distance to 360 instead of 400? I mean,
That-
you can take your time
Yeah,
to
yeah.
answer that question.
Sure. That I'll have to research that.
Yeah, you
to be
might have
honest.
to
Yeah,
drive out there or something.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, terrific, thank
No
you.
problem.
I don't have any more questions. Do we want to deliberate or at least do a cursory so that we know if there's any major issues? Yay, nay? I don't know if I can close the public hearing since we're going to get something else.
That's good, microphone. I don't really have a question, just a statement. We've been here for an hour and a half on one item, which is more than the time allotted for the first 4.
Yep.
So I don't mean to be rude. I would like to see a little bit more efficiency from the board, because this is not a good use of people's time. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think I'll have to argue with that on that one. The public process requires that we address all the public concerns. And it's the board's job to make sure the standards are met, and sometimes we do get detailed, but I hear what you're saying. Maybe your point is we're best to deliberate another time, but I think I want to know if there's any major issues that anybody has, so that this fellow, when he comes back, doesn't end up waiting another month.
Why don't you pull the board? I have no
I have no issues.
Kathy, you have a number of questions to be addressed.
Right, right. As soon as I see some answers, then I'll be glad to deliberate.
Okay. Jessica? So, the things I have for the final plan is, so Bill, hopefully you have this noted, but for the final plan is to address the questions Kathy has concerning stormwater and some of the inconsistencies. Change the map for the 70, to reflect the 75-foot setbacks. Address whether landscaping is required in those gaps, and perhaps also provide photos. The buildable area, clarify the soil question. And assure comment on the location of the wells being 100 feet from certain.
Stormwater features, yeah, I have all of that, yep.
So that's what I have in addition to what's required for the final. I think, so I asked the board two things. We can quickly go over the standards, because I think we've done a lot of it already for the preliminary. You feel we should leave the hearing open, given what's left to come, or not? Rolf?
Well, we've asked for some specific information. I think we should leave it open and
Okay.
accept that.
So we'll leave the hearing open. What I'm going to do is just go through the standards quickly in case we miss something. I propose we do not write up a preliminary approval, because I think the info you're getting from the board is that it's heading in the right direction, and we do both when you come back, especially since we're leaving the hearing open. So
Okay.
I would turn in everything we've talked about today, plus what you need for the final.
Okay, so there would be a potential if we satisfy everything that we would get
Correct.
final? Okay.
Correct.
Perfect.
All right, on subdivision, statutory review criteria, I'll just go quickly and speak up if there's something that you think is a problem. Pollution, sufficient water, municipal water supply, erosion, traffic. Mr. Garrett, you did say you'd provide us with traffic counts.
Traffic memo, yep.
Sewage disposal, municipal solid waste disposal, aesthetic, cultural, and natural values. We have letters from all the departments. Comprehensive plans, financial technical capacity, surface waters, there are no outstanding river segments, groundwater, floodplains, freshwater wetlands, there are neither of those two. Farmland, there's no farmland on it, but there is a 50-foot required setback to certain, of certain things in the subdivision, which will be highlighted in the findings. River, stream, or brook, stormwater, spaghetti lots, lake phosphorus concentration, impact on adjoining municipality, land subject to liquidation harvesting. And now on to the municipal criteria. Phosphorus export, relationship to community services, none of the department heads had issues. Retention of public sites and open spaces, preservation of natural and historic features, traffic impact, shoreland zoning, not in the, there's a piece of it in the shoreland zone that is not being developed. Easement for drainage ways, that's been spoken to. Utilities, required improvements, which will be monuments, and the road for the final. Road or homeowners association will be in the final. Minimum lot size and minimum lot frontage for subdivision lots. Monuments, road signs, probably it will need a road sign. Roads. There's no non-conforming roads asked for. Sidewalks are not required. Water supplies, wells that will be in accordance with the requirements of DHHS. Fire protection, the chief had no concerns. Mile and a half away is the hydrant. Sewage disposal, surface drainage, long-term maintenance plan is in there for stormwater, and buffers, in which there may be some landscaping required. That's everything. Does anybody have any standards, assuming that Mr. Garish comes back with the information we've asked for that they feel are an issue? So I would say let's take a straw vote, not a binding vote, or a consensus on whether or not it's acceptable for the preliminary. No, we can't do that because we left the hearing open. So I think we're all set. We'll do both later.
All right.
Okay? Does anybody have any comments on Mr. Lopez's comments? I certainly wish we could go faster sometimes.
Yeah.
We do our best not to drag things out, but it's a public process, and we need to be satisfied that the standards are met. So, all right, Mr. Garish, I guess we'll see you in June or whenever you have the stuff ready.
In June, yep, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. On to Stonewall Hollow. Findings of fact and conclusions of law are before you. The only question I have is something we did not put in as a condition, which we have done with other subdivisions, and I think we may have talked about it but forgot to write it down, Mr. Seymour, is a performance guarantee for Stonewall Hollow.
Yes, do you want one?
Do you have any comments? Normally, we would ask for one, and we would just have the town manager and the CEO do that with you.
Yeah, would it be just for the road infrastructure?
Correct.
Yeah, if that's required, then we would follow through with that, but I would understand, especially where there's sewer going down through there, you would want the town to probably review that, but it's really no different than a driveway to a
Well,
condominium.
let me see how the board feels. Do you think we need a performance guarantee for the road, internal road, which basically means they put aside money in escrow in case the building is, in case they abandon the project and it's returned to green space?
I do.
You do, okay. We certainly have had instances where that's happened. Any other comments?
So the money would be used to return the property to
If the project is left in, is essentially abandoned. But if it's completed within a certain time frame, then, because usually you do the infrastructure first. Sorry, Jim.
That's okay. Who provides the estimate for the bond? Would that be the town or?
You work with the town manager, and Brenda will help. And, I don't think they're going to tell you, well, I don't know what they're going to tell you, but we've done it before, and we usually delegate that to the
Yeah, I've usually
the
dealt
town
with this on public, when we've offered it for public secession down the line, but usually on private roads, we haven't, but again, there are some public infrastructure, especially with the sewer in there.
Right.
It might make some sense to have some level of protection for the town.
Yeah, so that's in section, that's in the legal section. And I won't,
That's right, just restoration.
just want to make sure that it's nowhere else. So, performance guarantee. The performance guarantee must be satisfactory to the planning board as to scope, amount, form, sufficiency, manner of execution, and surety. The planning board may delegate to the town manager the review and acceptance of a performance guarantee with this section 810. So,
We're amenable to working that through the town
yeah,
manager.
and we usually just make that a condition.
Okay.
And, just to get that sorted before, I think before construction. Okay. So does the board want to take a vote on adding that condition?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mattson, seconded by Ms. DiPietro. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. 5-0. Okay?
I do have 2 sets of plan that you can sign at the end of the meeting if that helps.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. All right, on to the findings with that change added. And I'll just put that there will be a performance guarantee for infrastructure, which is primarily the road. Okay? So, any questions, comments on the findings? I have a question is, do we want to leave the red? Because basically this was written up for the preliminary, and then when things were turned in for the final, it dropped out some conditions and whatnot. So I can leave it that way, so I'm just thinking it's easier for the code enforcement officer to know that, instead of going to the preliminary and going to the final and comparing them. Okay. So I
Accepted
accept,
as presented.
along with the condition for the performance guarantee. Okay, moved by Mr. Mattson, is there a second? Second by Ms. DiPietro. Any further discussion?
Aye.
All in favor? Good. All right.
Deb, why don't we take 2 minutes to sign that plan?
We could do it at the end.
Sounds good, where is it?
Then Mr. Seymour can go home.
Do you have the
Wasn't
plan,
he
Jim?
up for the next one?
I'm gonna let them start while I write this in here.
You can put it right there if you want, yeah.
There's two sets there.
Okay, I'll get the other one.
Thank you.
No.
I'll take it.
Deb still needs to sign.
Ed asked her.
Just about killed the paper. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations to your applicant. Okey-doke. Next on the agenda, moving right along. Middle Ridge subdivision on Middle Ridge Road, map 14, lot 8, final subdivision plan. That, I think that's been in your OneDrive for a while. Would you like to speak to it?
Yes, thank you very much, board members. Jim Seymour with Sebago Technics, speaking tonight on behalf of the project for Middle Ridge Subdivision, NTGM Investments LLC. Mark Lopez is here with me this evening as well as his son. I just want to respond, at the last meeting we were at, there were some items that the board had requested that we provide more information for. One was the land swap with the butter and provide additional frontage. We acknowledged the request. I believe, Mark, there's an update that has actually...
We're waiting for the deeds to actually be recorded. They have, they've been executed.
So the deeds have been, waiting for them to be executed. They haven't been signed, but they have agreed.
Executed, not recorded.
Executed, not recorded. There we go. The second item was designation of the shoreland zoning. There was a resource protection line and then the setback from that in the LR. We have provided that on the plan that you have received. This is the RP line, and this is the LR line. Drawn on this graphic one, but it is actually CAD designed on the plan that you would have for final, and you have in your packet.
Hold on 1 second, Jim. Hey, can you just... Sorry, Jim.
Nope. And we've added a note that extended on note 5 that the portion of the property is located in the shoreline zone, but no improvements are planned for the area of that zoning. The third item was that the plan would be approval for single-family only with allowed ADU expansion per Bridgton land use planning regulations under Chapter 7. That note has been added as well as conditions of approval number 2. Fourth item was please indicate by note on the plan that the access or wood road used for forestry practice that exists over portions of Lot 3 and 4 will be allowed to revert to natural state or vegetated cover to be used for stormwater buffering purposes. That note has been added to the plan as well.
And that hasn't been, stumps haven't been pulled or
Correct.
broke there, is that
No,
correct?
that was just an old
No.
logging road that maybe when
Okay.
they did the road a long time ago, they may have pulled them, but we did not, with this last forestry practice, pull any stumps. And then the last one was add the note for the hydrogeologist recommendations for grout casing a minimum of 15 feet into bedrock, and that is note 4 on the conditions of approval as well. So we have updated what you requested per the preliminary findings of fact, and we're here this evening hoping that we can obtain final so that Mr. Lopez can proceed.
Yep. So the only, and I might ask Ms. Day to come up and point the board to the, to the letter from MMA, which we did, you weren't here last time, right? We did talk about, so just want to be absolutely sure of this with the board. So in the, okay, so in the findings, what we said is, sorry, I'll get there. What we said in there in so many words was that, I actually thought it was in the conditions, I'm sorry. Okay, so in the specific conditions of approval, we said subdivision plan is proposed for single-family dwelling units only. This does not preclude the applicant from applying for an accessory dwelling unit in compliance with all applicable laws, codes, and ordinances in place at the time of application. However, one of the things we were, the board voted to do was to check legally about this, and Ms. Day, maybe you can come up, but that, for the board, is the MMA response in the folder, and under Middle Ridge subdivision.
Yeah.
And I think what we talked about last time is it was fine in the findings, but we couldn't have it on the recorded plan. Is that correct, Ms.
Yes.
Day?
Yep, we were just gonna have it in the findings, something, and I believe, something to the fact that it would just go through the CEO.
Right, right. And, I mean, do you want to speak to the MMA letter at all? Because you were the one that was interacting with him.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember everything. So basically, we just asked if, we needed to say anything about ADUs, but if we didn't say they couldn't have it, it would be more towards covenants. The covenants would govern if they wanted to restrict ADUs in the subdivision, and if they didn't have a restriction through that they could come with the CEO and get permits and follow the land use ordinance. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I think what you said is we can't have it on the plan, but we can have it in the findings because it wasn't proposed in the plan.
Correct.
And basically, what MMA, have people been able to pull up what MMA says? So read it for yourself and see what you think.
And I think the board agreed on that, the last.
We did, but Mr. Seymour wasn't here.
Yeah.
So I would suggest instead of having to redo all that, we just
Yeah, I
cross an
don't
initial.
think the condition that way we worded it may impact that, because it just reads, the approval by the planning board is to allow single-family residents with the opportunity to add future accessory dwelling units, ADUs, in compliance with the Town of Bridgton Land Use Code, Chapter 7, Building Regulations, Section 7.2, Review Standards, Accessory Dwelling Units. So in the future, when you change your dwelling units, this would still be in compliance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going by what MMA
That
is
covers
saying
you for
here.
today and future. So.
I don't think it prevents you from coming back, but sounds like we shouldn't have it specifically on the plan because we didn't review it that way.
We didn't approve it to have
Right.
ADUs.
Correct.
But this says.
But it clearly can be done in the future. I would just suggest, so that we don't run into the issues down the line, if the board agrees, to just cross that section and you're still able to come back and do what you want to do.
Madam Chair, I have a question. When did the board get that information? Because we're here with the plan tonight, the final plan for signature.
We got
Did
it.
it come today at 4 o'clock?
We got it March 5th, 2026. It's been in the folder.
Okay, was it ever given to us?
I don't remember seeing that, no.
We did discuss it at the last.
We discussed it.
We did discuss it at the last meeting.
We put the language back in the fact of findings.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think this language hurts or does, it just basically says that you're allowing him single-family residence and then the opportunity to add future accessory dwelling units that are in compliance with your code, basically.
But we can't actually approve those, and we didn't approve that when we made the plan, and I think that's what MMA is basically saying. Say again?
So we can send them that.
Yeah, we don't need it, you just want that off the plan. Is that what you're telling me?
Just cross out that one thing, and it's in the
You
findings.
got a Sharpie?
Well, I've got a pen.
I don't know if we can do that to the registry, though. I don't know if the registry.
I've certainly seen it on plans.
Yeah, we'll bring in, Madam Chair, if we get another plan, can we, and bring it in?
Yeah.
We don't wanna wait another month. The thing is,
Sure,
we can be
yeah,
in the
we'll just
board
go in
at
the
your
office and
convenience.
sign it.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, yeah, we'll just have one tomorrow sent down to the office.
You want me to just mark it so that there's no other
No,
questions? Or are you all set?
I'm all set, we'll just flip the conditions around that we had on here.
So,
Okay.
voting on the findings of fact, or?
We're gonna vote that it meets the final subdivision plan. We already voted on the preliminary and have the findings. And assuming you approve it, then Laura Lee and I will write up the findings, which should be pretty easy because everything's gonna be the same, except for some of the conditions will be removed. And that's it.
All right, well.
So I would accept the motion to approve the final subdivision plan as presented by the applicant, moved by
A
Mr.
second.
What's your name? Manson, yeah. I'm drawing a blank sometimes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Cook. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, so I'll write those up. And we'll just, I don't think we need we know what we've agreed to and voted on, so I think if, we'll just go in and sign the plans. I don't
We'll
think I
just
need
take
to.
that note off and realign the numbers, and
Right,
we should be ready tomorrow
exactly.
afternoon.
And I think it would be good just to get into the record, the follow-up at some point for the land swap,
Yes, yep.
just so it's on record.
Okay.
Do we all need to sign this?
We don't need to sign anything.
We don't, tomorrow.
Sometime afterwards, yes.
He'll get,
I'll have it
he'll
for you
get a new
tomorrow.
plan.
You come in
and
at
then,
your
we can start
convenience.
Can it
Laura
be
Lee will let us
earlier
know,
rather-
and then we should go in and sign it.
Can it be earlier rather than later? I'm supposed to be leaving town.
Yeah, you don't have to sign it tomorrow, I just don't wanna,
No, fair.
Go-
Well,
go
if
to
you
June.
have it tomorrow, before a certain time, I
Oh,
will
Yeah.
make the
what
effort.
time, what time works for you?
Before noon?
Oh, yeah.
We're a little confused over here, maybe I missed something. Are we signing the site plans before we do the finding?
No. Well, I guess we kind of are, aren't we?
A little bit.
All right, so why don't we do this? Because I don't feel like the applicant should need to wait another month when there's really nothing changing except removal of some conditions. Laura Lee?
Have the findings ready for the workshop, and then you can sign it at the same time.
And then sign everything then? Okay.
Does that work?
Does that work for you guys?
sure.
That'll work.
Why don't
I'll
we
be
do
here.
that? Yeah, I had a feeling you were gonna ask me that, but, and if for some reason, Mr. Lopez's, you need to move sooner because there's some kind of pending construction schedule, just contact Laura Lee.
Well, we
Because
still
it
have to
shouldn't
do
be
the-
very
We
difficult.
gotta record the deed anyway.
Yeah, so, all right,
When is the workshop? 2 weeks?
correct. So
Next
if
one, go.
if you need something sooner,
Yeah.
we'll try to do it sooner.
Right, thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. All right. Last but not least, we are a bit over our approximate times that can change, and they've changed. Bridgton Highlands Country Club Incorporated, Highland Road, map 14, lot 22A.
That's gonna fit. There we go. Hello, everyone. I'm Eamon Hutton with Tandem Landscape Architects. We're here on behalf of the Bridgton Highlands Country Club to review the major development.
Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. I forgot my job. Is there anybody that wishes to recuse themselves?
No.
the applicant has standing and notices were served. Do we feel the application is substantially complete?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now you can go.
Glad to have you all stay. Yeah, you have all of the permit materials, all the application materials. We're here to review, to answer any questions that you might have. You'll recognize this from the pre-application site plan that was submitted July of last year. Nothing has significantly changed from then, though if you remember at that time, the plans were really focused on the driving range tee box and parking area and all that. Now, in the plans, you'll see the full parcel, all the way edge to edge, including the stormwater management plan. Jim here from Sebago told me his office is there in the back corner. He is also here to help answer any questions you might have about the stormwater management.
All right, before we go too much further, I'm not doing my job tonight.
It's a
Does anybody
driving.
feel we need a public hearing?
No.
Okay, gotta ask. Are we okay with that? Does anybody feel we need a site walk?
No.
We're good with that? You sure? Okay? All right. Sorry, got off my game a little bit here.
That's great.
Go ahead.
So I can go into a general description of what you're seeing in the materials, but I do up front want to flag a couple important things. So probably the most important is that what we're after is conditional approval. There's a parallel SLOTA permit application in the works that Jim is leading, and we understand that you'll want to see that before this is fully approved. The spirit of what we're after is getting everything else sorted with the town so that once that permit is approved by the state, we're ready to go.
Okay.
We're asking to waive or to get an exception to the public right-of-way and frontage setback, which you can see in the application form, due to the nature of the lot not being on a public right-of-way and its adjacency abutting the existing golf course. We'd like to not have to set back 75 feet from that edge, just adds to more paving. And you'll see on the plans an approximate footprint for a future accessory building for a small restroom and some vending where you could go get golf balls and things like that. That's really preliminary at this point. We feel confident about the size of it and the use, but want to come back in the future with the appropriate permit application materials for the building, its connection to wastewater management and all of that. So that's not included here. This is pretty much purely a landscape-based application.
Are both lots owned by the same parties?
Yes.
And that occurred last year when the lot was bought? And the lot where the driving range is going was bought?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been
2024.
less than a year.
Let me look at the deed. Don't quote me on the deed.
October 8th, 2024.
What are you thinking, Rob?
I'm thinking about how lots merge at times, if they've got a non-conforming lot next to a conforming lot.
That's right, October 4th of '24.
Because it had no frontage.
Well, again,
Not that it really matters here.
no, I don't think it does, but they are asking that we accept their definition of where the front is, and.
That's not it.
Yeah, that's the wrong one. Sorry.
I just realized I didn't bring these up.
I think if you look at the definition of, there's no public lot line on this lot, 0. There's nothing that says there has to be a public lot line. They're all common lot lines, I think. Maybe Ms. Day can comment on this. And therefore, you can kind of decide which one is your front. He's deciding the one abutting the current golf course. Is that correct, Ms. Day, or not?
Yep, I would agree.
So
Since
there's-
that's the side that the access will be coming from, that seemed like the
Right.
appropriate frontage.
Yeah, you can call that it's still a common lot line, but you can designate that as your front and, I don't think you technically have to set structures back 75 feet, but you can. I mean, I'll let the board, it's really the board's decision.
You need one.
Is what I'm saying making sense, Rolf? Okay. Everybody else? Okay, keep on going.
I think what I'm hearing is that it could just be considered another common lot line.
Correct.
And we sort of avoid the frontage entirely. That would have the same function of what we're after.
Right.
And for what it's worth, the setback to the structure, that future accessory building, less of a concern. It's really how far we'd set back the bit of parking. Going 75 feet just extends that impervious surface further into the site, adds to greater impervious surface, which doesn't seem entirely necessary, given the condition.
Okay.
So just a brief summary, it is an expansion of the Highlands Country Club. The proposed use is an allowed use as outdoor recreation. The lot is just over 11 acres. It was previously cleared for logging. As you'll see in the application, the lot coverage being proposed is 2.5%, just over 12,000 square feet. That impervious area is comprised of the gravel drive and parking, a small paved patio, and I believe technically the sand trap. The vast majority of the site would remain pervious and open. We don't see any floodplain impacts. Talked about the frontage. The sketch of the design, again, hasn't really changed. It includes a tee box with a downslope driving range with targets every 50 yards. It has a dedicated teaching area, 2 practice greens and the sand trap. The parking is about 17 spaces for vehicles and about 10 spaces for carts. In looking at the number of spaces you'd need for a facility like this, that's in the range. It's on the lower end of what you might use because we're trying to account for all the parking that's immediately off-site across the property line. We don't want to overbuild parking for this. The landscape strategy is really planting native trees and shrubs for additional screening along the property lines, creating a perimeter of native meadow around all edges and any spaces that aren't actively being used for the golf function. Lots of native trees and shrubs for ornamental planting and additional ecological benefit. There are certain areas, the tee boxes, the greens, that will be really manicured turf, what you're imagining when you think of golf. But that downslope, vast area where the targets are does not need to have that level of care, frequency of mowing, or probably will not in the long term need fertilizing of any kind. So trying to have a blended approach where there's high maintenance where it's really needed and the rest can be a spectrum to fully naturalized edges. Lots of detail on stormwater management I can go into, and glad I have Jim sitting behind me. The site drains to the Rogers Brook, which then goes to Long Lake. The design meets Chapter 500 standards. It includes a wet pond at the bottom of the hill and a secondary detention pond. That secondary detention pond is flood control functionally, but also the country club would like to use it as a resource for watering plantings and things like that. The proposed design reduces peak runoff for all storm events compared to the existing conditions, so that's at the 2-year, 10-year, and 25-year storm events. For phosphorus impacts to Long Lake, which, as you know, is most at risk for new development, our budget is 0.41 pounds per year, and after treatment, we're looking at 2.72 pounds per year, so there's an overage there. And we're proposing compensation through the DEP-approved mechanism. We recently dealt with this on another project, but would like to pursue that here.
Yeah, so that would go to DEP, not to, and then maybe they give it to LEA, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Are people okay with accepting the compensation fee? We normally do, but just asking.
It's consistent with what we've been doing.
What's that?
It's consistent with what we've been doing.
Correct.
Can I just ask a question though? What's the alternative to that?
Change the stormwater plan
Change the stormwater plan.
so that you lower the phosphate even more.
And does that increase the cost significantly?
Well, yeah, that's right. It would be increasing the amount of stormwater management we were doing on site. My understanding is that the soils are not conducive to infiltration, so we have more of a retention strategy here. We could build bigger ponds. I think it is the cost trade-off. Jim, I don't want to speak for you, but why not just make the whole thing ponds? Right?
Wow. Thank you, Jim Seymour with Sebago Technics. So the concept that we've done here is, as you can tell, the land goes from the tee boxes downhill. The idea was to, again, because there's so much clearing in there, we do not have much opportunity for buffer, and that is usually the most dominant way we can address phosphorus runoff. So the secondary purposes would be either through infiltration devices, such as, like you saw with the other project, infiltration swales or wet ponds. In this case, this kind of doubles up their need for water for the purposes of the golf course irrigation. So we really, again, we're in the early stages with DEP, so they may have some other ideas as well, so that compensation number may fluctuate. But we looked at this originally as just the first wet pond. Where there is a second wet pond, there may be an opportunity to put that in series where, as you know, we get a little bit higher treatment valuation. So that number may fluctuate depending on how DEP wants us to look at this. But that's really the only options we have given how this land lays out. So, but again, there may be an opportunity on the piece next door where we show the peak runoff storm pond. We may be able to also convert that into do a little bit more polishing is what I would use as a term.
Okay. Questions? Anybody have questions? Comments? Kathy?
Yes. Your existing conditions, stormwater plan is missing the soil types. It's got the lines, but it doesn't tell me what the soil types are, so if you could. Also, this does fit into the large construction activity for the Maine contractor general permit, I'm assuming, disturbed area greater than 5 acres. In the clearing of this, has it been grubbed, or are the stumps still there?
Many of the stumps have been removed.
Have been grubbed?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's already disturbed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's on everyone's radar and part of what Jim's working with DEP to straighten out.
Right, okay, yeah, because that does bring us to another stormwater question. Which was it? In the existing conditions, I believe it said, what is it? Oh, yes, existing conditions, talked about 23 acres of woods, and I don't think it's 23 acres of woods anymore.
Well, the reason we utilize that number is because that sets the pre-existing condition higher. So, because we have to look at that condition prior to what they did, because what they did was,
Yes.
okay, so we have to look at that as if it were a completely treed lot. That's why we did that.
Are you calling out the 23 acres specifically, though? Because that's bigger than ours.
Well, it's the watershed that,
The watershed, yeah.
it's for the
it
purposes
comes-
of the watershed, for the
comes in-
stormwater quantity, not necessarily the phosphorus.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that it, Kathy?
That's it. really. I mean, I have a question because I don't golf, but, so this would be a question that is not pertaining to a standard, it's because I have no idea what golf. Why do you have to do so much grading? They want, like, this to be fully manicured so that ball, do you know where the ball's gonna roll or something?
The grading of that fairway area to create the targets, really, we're trying to make sure that we're able to send the stormwater down to the treatment pond. That's part of it, so creating those swales on either side. And then, yeah, collecting the balls and driving through to pick them all up. It can't be too rough. You know, the plan does show it very cleanly shaped. I know that there'll be flexibility with that. It doesn't need to be so perfectly sculpted. That's not required for the use, and if we're able to keep more of the existing topography, that's better for a lot of reasons.
It is better, yeah, it's better, actually, because when you create the swales, you can potentially speed up the stormwater if you give it a little alley to go down. Whereas if it has to meander a little bit, then slow it down.
That's a really good point.
Okay, Jess?
No questions.
Maggie?
My only question is how close Rogers Brook is to the site, and if that could be, it's not on the parcel.
It's not on the parcel now. You can see it in one of the
I'm looking
context
at
plans in the stormwater management.
Google Maps, but it's not. And thank you for a very beautiful and easy to read and understand application. Always.
Oh, shucks. My
Well, it
pleasure.
definitely needs to be 75 feet away from it.
It's definitely more than 75 feet.
And if it's in resource protection, it has to be 250.
I'm gonna guess that that's probably in the order of 1,000 feet away from the brook.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in
All
one
right.
of these
That's
site
good.
plans, which of course, if you look in the stormwater management plan, you can see it on in Appendix 4. This also has
yeah.
the soil classifications on it, so that, I think that's what these are.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the second to last page. Thanks, it's helpful.
So it appears to be about 300 feet at the closest point on this, but we can get you a real dimension for that.
That's outside of shoreline zone.
On the topic of shoreline zone, though.
Yes, that was my question.
Yeah, during the pre-application, I guess it was you, brought up the
Yeah,
pond.
and it shows on all the maps, it shows on the wetland inventory for the board. It shows,
Can't miss it.
this pond shows on the shoreline zoning maps, shows on the GIS maps, it shows in the national wetland inventory. For the golfers here, what is it? It looks like a fire pond to me.
Man-made irrigation pond, yeah.
An irrigation pond. Okay, so, I think we would just want a confirmation somehow or a photo in the application that tells us, you know, there's clearly no wetlands around it, okay? Or some sort of statement, but that's what I guess is.
This one, number 8.
It's so
Yeah, hole
round.
number 8.
I believe that we're gonna approve with the original site location.
Yeah.
We'll take it up. with
Yeah,
you.
I just want to
Yeah.
make sure that we're all covered because the maps essentially have decided that this irrigation pond is a water body. And technically it is, but it doesn't really have any requirements around it.
So, that's right, it's the pond at hole 8. And, yeah, how should we proceed with that? How should we clear it up? Do you want DEP to weigh in on it?
No, I think we can have Ms. Day go out to the site and verify that
Okay.
it's not a wetland. I mean, Brenda, what's your opinion? Because the maps are incorrect, which we would just say in the findings that the maps are incorrect.
Well, I was gonna say, we could also see if the original application had it on there, the original, not this one. from the golf.
Oh, you mean the application for the golf course itself?
You said it should have been approved on that, right? So they-
Yeah, we just need something so that we're all covered and there's no buggy that comes out and says, you know, because there's a 250-foot line, it overlaps significantly onto the property and it shouldn't count essentially.
Okay, so we'll have Brenda come out and take a look.
Yeah, or whatever she advises.
Okay.
So, board okay with that? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The map is wrong at times.
How old is the hole?
The home?
No, how old is hole number 8?
Oh, the hole.
1995. 95? The second 9.
The only other thing I had is typically with the landscape plan, in addition to the sort of the nice layout, we actually have detail on it, on a plat, just like, so if you don't know what all the plants are gonna be, just kind of state hardwood, softwood,
Yeah.
native, which are bushes, but the landscape plans we've received in the past actually list the type and the number.
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
And it looks like you're adding quite a bit, which is great.
Sure. Yeah, we can provide a plant schedule with the species. Again, the intent is to use native species through there.
All right. We ready to deliberate? There's no public hearing, and there's some follow-up which can be captured as conditions. Or do you want to wait and have them bring something back? Let's
Get it
go.
done.
Bring it back?
No, get it done.
Get it done. Okay, that's my vote too. So we'll skip over shoreline zoning since we don't think it applies, and we'll just go to site plan. So your narrative doesn't quite match up with the current ordinance, but I think generally because of this, you're okay. So some things are in a different order.
Oh, really?
Some things no longer exist, like the ADA compliance. And what's that?
Can I say how hard that was to
Yeah,
find?
you use the old one.
If you go to the town's website, you can find multiple versions of the application.
Completely agree, and we could use Eco 360, and
Yeah.
it would make everything.
We still
very
have to
easy.
follow the standards, so I'm just going to read them out. You guys have seen the narratives. If you so have time, it would be extremely helpful to Laura Lee and I to number those and put them in the order
Sure.
that they are in the ordinance, because that keeps us from redoing it. So it's literally a lot less time sometimes. So, general review criteria, proposed use. Complies with all applicable requirements of the code. Consistent with the comprehensive plan. By the way, that was a really good explanation of how it fit the comprehensive plan. Preservation and enhancement of the landscape.
It'll look good.
Yeah, there'll be a condition here just to provide the specific landscaping plan.
Sure.
Relationship to surroundings. Traffic, vehicular and pedestrian traffic. Traffic circulation. Chief, you're okay with access? Okay. Parking,
Fine.
surface water drainage. We might have a condition here because the stormwater thing is going to DEP. Is it just the stormwater or something more, or is it SLOTA?
SLOTA, what else is in that? Just the stormwater?
same thing you do for their reviews and submitting. They'll look at.
Okay. So I just couldn't remember, Jim, if
Yeah.
it said it was a SLOTA application?
It's a full SLOTA, yes, it's a
Okay.
full site location, so they have the right to look at anything, and that gets kind of with the pre-application, that'll get massaged down to a shorter list, what they want.
Okay. All right. Impervious surfaces. Public utilities?
You know, on their application, they said there was no impervious surfaces.
No, the parking lot would be an impervious surface.
Right.
I think we said it was impervious. Did I?
I think because they use the old standards.
Okay, I'm just saying, I remember
No,
that it said no.
you're correct. The old standards say that there's not certain items in the setback area. There's not impervious in the setback area, or something like that. It's
Okay.
just stated differently. Public utilities,
Fine.
advertising features.
It's gonna be a big neon sign saying, "Drive here."
There are no, did
No,
you have a
no.
question, Kathy?
Yeah, are you going to revise the sign at the Bridgton Highlands Country Club to include the new driving range, or is that not going to be?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Special features of the development, doesn't appear like there's a dumpster required for loose golf balls. Exterior lighting, you're not gonna have any lighting, correct?
No
And I
lighting,
assume
no.
nobody's gonna be hitting balls after dark. Okay,
Did I see someplace that said Wednesday through Sunday?
Yeah,
Yes.
I wrote that in there. Are those
On
not the
Monday and
current
Tuesday?
hours?
No, those would have been the current hours of the simulator that we do during the winter.
okay.
Okay.
We, what will the hours be, same as the golf club?
It'll be 7 days a week,
7 days a week?
7 a.m. to 9, 8 p.m.
Okay.
All right. You must be the manager of the golf club.
Oh, I'm just a simple golf pro.
No, ball hawker, Jim, you're a ball hawker.
Water quality. Groundwater quantity and quality. I don't believe there's any wells being drilled. Air quality, that was spoken to. Water supply, just irrigation, right? Which I think you spoke to.
Right.
Soils and erosion control, sewage disposal, scenic impacts, well, from the air, but not from the road. Noise,
We occasionally hear certain things in the.
perhaps a little, some language might be used. Location in the floodplain?
No.
Nope. Adequate technical and financial capacity, does anybody need anything more there? Special regulations, it's not an institutional use, it's not a residential childcare, I don't think so anyway. It's not an industrial use, there'll be no outdoor storage of articles, supplies, and materials in the setback area.
Nope.
So, and that is it. So I would accept a motion to tentatively approve the, say it right here, the Bridgton Highlands Country Club application for the driving range,
So moved.
et cetera, with two conditions. Number one, prior to construction or permitting, an acceptable SLOTA is received from DEP, and that a detailed landscaping plan is received. Now you can say so moved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Cook, seconded by Mr. Mattson. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. You're all set.
Thank you.
Good. We'll have the findings, you've made it fairly easy for us to do the findings at the next meeting.
You didn't list it as a condition, but I will reshuffle things to fit into the latest version of the.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be so helpful to us. And then, I didn't list it as a condition, but just, you're gonna go out with Brenda, just, we'll put it in the findings. Okay, so I just need the follow-up record of that. Okay, on to other, I have two quick things. I don't know if Ms. Day wants to explain one of them. So because we are sometimes receiving applications that are missing items that then get followed up on and sent in beyond the 12 days that they're required to be sent in, or we end up having multiple things here, where there's questions. Ms. Day, for her purposes, working with the departments and particularly for her use with the applicants, has created a planning board completeness checklist. This isn't everything, it's not everything that's listed in the application. It's more or less a summary, and you can see in her latest impact statement, she's gone through and attached it. And she's gonna start doing that every time. I think that would be really helpful. It'll probably save questions from the board. Brenda, did you want to say anything about your sheet, your checklist?
I just did that checklist to try to help with the, initial, and I mean initial, completeness review. Deb and I sat down and went over it, kind of tweaked it a little bit, and it's not a full list, it's just kind of, an upfront, here, we have this.
Yeah.
And if there's any question about, if there's an item on there, that it's there, I'm not gonna question if it's complete, that's gonna be you guys, but I'm just gonna say, it's there, not saying it's right or complete, but that piece is there. So it's just a little bit of guidance, I think, not that you guys need that, but.
Yeah.
So a little bit upfront red flag, and then that way I can reach out to the applicants, hopefully before, and, request anything that I might see missing right off the get-go. So hopefully it'll be a little helpful.
So first of all, thank you very much, Brenda, for taking the time to do that and proactively doing it. Nobody asked her to do it, she just did it. The second thing is that Ms. Day, when it's been done, will review CEO applications that are commercial applications, not residential applications, like we used to do with department reviews, and I guess that would go in the OneDrive, but.
I don't think any of them were here when we did that.
Say again?
I don't think any of them were here when we did that.
Yeah, I don't think so. But we used to do, the CEO used to review the department reviews, and there was a folder for it, and Brenda's gonna pick that up again.
Okay.
So, does anybody have anything else? Are you gonna move to adjourn?
Oh, I'll move to adjourn.
Ms. Cook moved to adjourn, is there a second? Second by Mr. Madsen. All in favor?